Brother, you can see them. Yes. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters.
Waalaikumsalam.
I'm Omar Susi, and from December 26th to January 2nd, I was in Jordan helping the refugees of both Palestinian and Syrian, the Palestinian and Syrian refugees, and the trip, the experience, everything about it was life-changing. I know that word is used often. People describe everything as life-changing, but inshallah, seeing everything from the people there, the situation they're in, their needs, and how they deal with it all is truly eye-opening, and it changed my perspective. And there's 1,000 things I can talk about. I can talk about just how so many different topics, but I want to focus on 3 major parts. I want to focus on their land, where they're living, their needs, and the people themselves. Yeah. So, with the first part, the land, most of these people are living in either the desert, or for the Palestinians, they are living in a certain section of a city that, due to political, bureaucratic issues, they're not exactly, they're stuck in a political limbo, and it's very complicated and very messy for them. And inshallah, they're still able to have this sense of pride in knowing that they'll eventually go home soon. Sure. Though for 70 years they've been fighting for it, they still have that pride. But as you can see right here, this is one of the houses that we went to. This tiny little area was home for about 5 people. And as you can tell, there's a water right on top of it from Helping Hands. And it kind of just, it's a perfect demonstration of just their situation. They don't have that much, and Helping Hands, mashallah, is doing everything they can to help them, whether it's supplying water, food, education for them, whatever they need. Helping Hands is there to help them. But a lot of the areas we went to, from the Palestinian camps to the Syrian camps, you can tell that they were just in dire need for help. And seeing them and talking to them, you wouldn't know it. Most of these children, most of these people wouldn't show would not show that they were beaten. They would not show that they were in a situation of desperate need. They would always have a smile on their face, and they would always try and look at the positives. As you can see right here, that's a wooden stair, and I can tell you from walking on it, it was a bit creaky, so there was a bit of concern that it may break underneath our weight, but inshallah, it was able to hold us all up when we were climbing up. But you can just see the clothes hanging, the roof isn't concrete, it isn't wood, it's a thin layer of I'm not sure if it's aluminum or steel, but regardless, it's not a lot of protection. And it was a common sight in the Palestinian camp especially. Syrian camp, it was mostly in the desert, Palestine, due to the fact they've been there for 70 years, for so long. They kind of have a bit more defined housing, and you could call it that. I'm not sure if I would call it defined housing, but you can just see that this is not this is not a house that we, in the United States, we would look at that and just be like, man, that's not a great house. But for them, they love it. You know, they have pride in it. They look at their house and they take so much pride and put so much love and emphasis on it, and they are so dedicated to making it their own. And mashallah, that is the mindset that we should all have. To not just have a beaten mindset about something. We should always try and strive for a positive mindset, to look beyond the issues that we see. As you can see, they're trying to pretty it up. They got rugs, some pillows right there. not even a window. It was an open hole because it was not a great. There was a lot of issues with the housing. You can kind of see there's a bit of leakage coming. There was a lot of open holes and potholes and whatnot around the place. And inshallah, they are not. As you could tell that they were not letting it kill their spirits. They had high spirits. The kids, the families, the moms, the brothers, all of them had high spirits. This is in the Palestinian, Syrian camp, and this is I believe the second camp we went to. The first camp of the last day, and seeing those tents. I know the image comes up on news, and whenever you hear about the Syrian crisis, you always see those, or any crisis in general that involves refugees, you see those tents. You see people living on the streets, living in the desert, struggling, but seeing it firsthand, going inside those tents and seeing just what they were actually made of, it changed so much, because it's one thing to see it on the TV and to hear someone like Jay Tapper or a newsman talk about it, but actually going there, actually seeing it, it opens your eyes and it truly changes the whole perspective. And right here, this was another camp that we went to, and that little tiny area right there, not the micro home, but that's little kind of house, if you want to call it that, was where about 5 people lived. 5 people, and a 6th person just came. They had a child, not the day of, but there was a young kid, probably 6 or 7 months old, that was in that. So it's tough. There's not a lot of space, but mashallah, they did everything they can to make it as beautiful and homely as possible. And each time we went to these tents, each time we went to these homes, each time we went to these camps, these people would open up their homes for us. Not because we're helping camps, but because they're our brothers and sisters in faith, and they just wanted to show their appreciation to us, that we are there to help them. And they helped us as much as we helped them. And to be honest, they probably helped us more than we helped them. One of the biggest issues with these camps, and this was from the first camp we went to, there's a struggle to get goods there, because the roads leading to that camp are just terrible. There's a lot of holes. It's basically dirt. And right here, this is one of the Helping Hands trucks, and you can see that the car is stuck in a pothole, and they had I don't want to say like 5 minutes, but like 2 minutes, they were just struggling to push the car through and get it through that hole. And this is Helping Hands. This is the organization that's doing the most for them and trying to help them, and even they struggle with it. So imagine what would happen if it's just a random person who's driving over there, or someone who's just in a random car. It's extremely tough for them to get help, and just from the fact that you have to get there. You can't. Getting there is just so difficult. How many people here have one restroom in their home? More than one restroom? It should be most of us, right? These people, this is from the first camp, most of them, they have one restroom for about 5 families. It's just a hole in the dirt with cloth surrounding it and wires holding it up. Imagine that for a second. You're in the middle of the night, you need to go to the restroom, you walk out, it's blisteringly cold out. You walk to this tent, you're trying to use the restroom, you have no privacy, you're exposed to the elements, and there's animals all around. There were dogs, at least 3 dogs that I saw at this camp, at least another 3 in the last camp we went to. So you're not protected from the nature, and you're not protected from predators who could be living in these camps, because the camps that we went to, there was no issue of that. We were told from Brother Talha, the guy who led us in from New York to Jordan, that he heard a story about how a mother and 3 of her daughters were basically abused in one of the bigger camps in Jordan. So it happens to them, and this is a prime place for that abuse to come, because there's no protection. And one of the few things that we brought them to the camps. We brought micro restrooms, and these aren't exactly the elite of restrooms, but they are sufficient. They run on solar power, and just seeing their faces, one of the kids, it's in here, but we're going to get to that later. One of the kids was just playing with the lights, turning it on and off, and it was just so beautiful seeing the smile on his face when he saw that light. So this is, once again, that tent for the restroom. This is the micro restroom. It's not big, as you can tell. It can probably fit at the most 2-3 people in there if you want to cram them in, but it's such a massive upgrade from what was there, because it's actual privacy. There's a light there. You're just walking in the dark here, so there's a light outside for you there, and knowing that they have that, knowing that we helped set that up, it really brought happiness to my heart, knowing that we could do something like that. As we all know, as we've all heard, the Syrian refugees especially have been facing tough conditions. They live about 2 miles from, the first camp lives about 2 miles away from Syria. Like, we were that close to the border, and it must be gut-wrenching for them knowing that their home, their life, everything that was once theirs is about 2 miles away, and they can't go back because of the war. So for us, we were able to bring food, bring oil, bring all these different resources for them and help them out. And as you can see this, I'm not sure if you were able to see it, but these 2 girls had smiles on their face, and they were just so happy to receive our help, and they were so happy to see us, just for us to be there and just to communicate with them and talk with them. Inshallah, they were just so ecstatic. This is the little house from a couple photos ago, and you can see just how tight we were all there. Granted, there's about 26 people in there, so it's a bit tight, but just you can kind of see. I'm in the back. I'm in the far right end of the room taking this photo, and you can kind of tell there's not a lot of space, even if we weren't there. So you can see they got all this stuff lined up in there. They're doing what they can to make it homey. They're trying to make it more than just a refugee spot, like a place that we're just stuck. They're trying to make it home, and that's so important. That's so powerful that they're refusing to just give up, and they're refusing to just admit that we're refugees. No, they are people, and they are going to live their life regardless of the situation that's transpired. On the last day that we were there, we were providing microhomes for some of the families. And these microhomes are nothing major. They're about half the length of this room. About, not that wide, but still, for someone that's been living in a tent, for someone that's been exposed to nature, a strong wind could probably knock down some of these tents. So having this chance to have a solid home, have something that's not going to have scorpions being freely able to crawl in and bite you, to not have to worry about snakes. Words can't describe how they must have felt. And seeing their joy and seeing their happiness was truly amazing. And for each camp we went to, we also provided them water. You can kind of see the water tank right there. And we take that for granted so much. Water, just drinking water, tap water, water to do with food, regardless. They have to wait for us. They don't have water just on the regular supply to them. They get it from helping hands, and it truly puts into perspective the important stuff in life. Not worrying about the new iPhone or worrying about what my friends are doing on Instagram or Twitter. The fact that they don't have water just regularly available that they can just have fun with, have a water fight or anything like that. They desperately need water, and we're able to provide it. Just puts everything in perspective. This is us putting the water in the tanks. This is on the last day we set up the water, and we set up the homes, and it just shows how much work Helping Hands is doing in that region. Because from what I saw, there wasn't a lot of other organizations that were out there working. It was mostly Helping Hand. And granted, I was with Helping Hand, so I didn't see anyone else. But knowing that Helping Hand is this involved with the refugees is truly beautiful. So this is my brother, Eamon. I met him in Jordan, and I didn't talk to him about his family. I didn't feel like it was on the first day we were there, and I didn't want to. He's a refugee just like the other people in the picture. I didn't want to talk to him about his family because I didn't want to bring up memories about lost ones or anything, but I wanted to have fun with him, and I wanted him to enjoy his day with me because this was probably going to be the only day that we had. And he's 17 years old. He's in high school right now. Since this trip, we message each other on Facebook. On Wednesday, I believe, he got an 18 out of 20 on his exam, and he was upset because he wanted a 20 out of 20. I was telling him, that's still an A, man, but he's like, no, I know, but I wanted a 20. I'm just like, well, you gotta use that as motivation. But during that entire trip, there was a language barrier between us since he didn't understand English that well, and I don't understand Arabic that well, but still, the entire time we were trying to communicate to each other. We were trying to break through that barrier and try and build a friendship, and just meeting him and talking with him and hanging out with him. We were able to ride bikes with the other brothers, and just how much fun he was having. Every time he wanted to take a picture, like every 5 minutes, and we were in the back, so I was like, hey man, we gotta catch up with him before we can take a photo, but knowing that he wanted to savor every moment was truly beautiful, and we had such a great time. And as the day ended, I was wearing a Helping Hand wristband or bracelet, and he asked, where can I get that? And I was like, I got this in America, but you can have it. And when I gave it to him, he said in Arabic, I'm going to keep hold of this forever because it came from my friend Omar. And I was just so touched by that because it showed that I made that much of an impact on him. And I was just so happy that I could do something like that. These were the kids that we met on the second day. And this was in a Helping Hand school. And though the school isn't certified, they're not going to get. I don't know exactly how the certification issues with it, but I know that they're still getting more of an education than they wouldn't if it wasn't Helping Hands. And all the kids, when they saw us, were so happy. They were just so joyful and so friendly. You forget that these are refugees, that these are people who've been removed from their home, and that they were able to bring a smile to our face. We were there to help them, yet they brought a smile to our face, and it was just so beautiful. It was just so amazing. The picture I was talking about, the kid was turning it on and off, and you can see the smile on his face, and you can even see the smile in mine. Just the fact that he was so happy, and he was turning the light on and off outside, and it's just something so small. He's not a 2-year-old, he's not a kid who doesn't understand it. He just hasn't seen it. I'm not sure how old he is, but he just hasn't seen something like that. And it's just truly amazing to have that experience, to see that happen. There was on that day that we went to school and we were playing a dance game, and just the kids' joy and energy was just incredible. And I can't say it enough, these kids just did not have that beaten spirit. They were so happy and so joyful that it truly just changed my whole life, it opened my eyes. On the last day, I met both of these two kids. He told me that he wanted to be a civil engineer and wanted to help rebuild what was lost in the war. And that was truly inspiring, that he was thinking like that. But he was still able to have fun when we were racing and chasing each other and playing soccer. And Simon says, and the girl here, Rahab, we were playing around, playing catch. But as Simon says, and as I was lifting her up on my shoulder and put her down, she hugged me and kissed me on the cheek, and I don't know what she said in Arabic, but I knew it was out of love, and it was so powerful that something so small, I was tossing her up in the air, I was lifting her on my shoulder, walking around and playing with her, yet she was so moved by love, and it just truly inspired me, and it truly left an impact on me. I cannot speak highly enough about the brothers who I went with on this trip. Each and every one of them, mashallah, they have the hearts of angels, and they came for the right reasons, and they were helping out everybody that was there. And the Helping Hand team in Jordan, they helped so much, and mashallah, without them, we would have been lost. And the brothers I went with, I built bonds with about 17 other brothers who I don't ever want to lose track of, because we were able to make such a great connection. And seeing the resilience on the face of those refugees and those kids and those families, and being able to meet with them, and everything that happened there, I know was for a reason, and I know that Allah provided me with the opportunity for that, and I'm so happy and thankful that I got that opportunity. Inshallah. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jazakallah khair.